Hi, I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates, and today we're going to take a look at the complementary color harmony that's created by using orange and blue together. A complementary color harmony is a color harmony that's straight across from each other on a color wheel. So it's going to include the warm side of the color wheel as well as the cool side of the color wheel. But it's a very pleasing color harmony that our customers enjoy. And taking those varieties of the tints, tones, and shades that we see and the varieties of texture here from the eryngium, the berries, and the soft fluffy delphinium, but taking those different textures and combining them and thinking about color. And as you're going, orange is the color of excitement. It's a color of creativity, desire, and enjoyment. It brings people into motion. So no wonder when I was a kid, my mom's curtains in our dining room were orange curtains on the wall. And she always said, sit still, sit still. So now when I look at orange, I always think of those orange curtains and how my mom wanted us to sit still. Well, you shouldn't buy orange curtains then. If you want to go to the other side, blue is more of a color of tranquility, kind of a peace, receding color, kind of brings a cool and calm. You think of water and tranquility. So those two really contrast in that complementary color harmony. We're also going to add in some green today, and green is more of a neutral, so it's not considered in the color harmony. But green really adds that binding element, thinking about that growth, that adding that natural element into design and kind of that earth shade. So as we're going to be creating our designs here, one of the other things that we're going to take a look at is the principle of design in scale and ratio. So here you can see we have two containers that are obviously in different scales. Same container in the larger size and the smaller size. So the scale is the relationship of the floral materials to the container. So some of these materials, if I use this many flowers in this one, the size like the lily might be overpowering for this size of container. But here you can see in the larger container that once that opens up, it's going to be a showpiece right there, really doing a great focal right there in the center. But it also, scale is in relationship to where it's placed. So something like this on a small coffee table would be out of scale for the place that it is. Something like this in a small bathroom is going to be the perfect scale for something to be able to feel like it's in the right proportion. So proportion and scale kind of work together. Proportion is the relationship of the components one to the other. As we're going to go on here, so you can see I almost have a balance of the amount of the orange elements. I've got some terracotta seeded eucalyptus in there, the blue delphinium, the blue viburnum coming in, and then the orange lily. Actually, I have to think about it being more powerful. When it opens up, it's going to add a lot more orange up into this area, and I want to make sure and save space for that to be able to open. So we're going to come in and add additional elements, thinking about those stem placement going all the way down into the middle of our container so that we have a great amount of that stem down in. We're going to be using our grouping technique again, where we are bringing those flowers together to add impact. So now you can see those two there. I'm going to come across and bring this rose right over in here. And so you can see how those balance out each other. and I'm going to really have a strong orange presence through the middle there. And so I'm going to add in a few more elements that are going to spread that out a little bit. We've got some Montbrisia. So the balance on this, I've got some strong delphinium over in that area. So I'm going to come this side and use some of this Montbrisia to create that in and out type pattern that will counterbalance the strength of the delphinium on the other side. And the orange color, it'll add more motion and depth down into my other elements and really balance that out. So you can see it carries here, comes up into here. This is going to be a strong focal. It's going to get stronger once the lilies open up. But then I'm going to come in with a couple of the Hypericum. Back over in here, just adding another textural element. Now this is a little bit of a peach tone. And you can see here that I've got some of the chrysanthemums, the button mums, and those have a little bit of a golden undertone, but it's about tints, tones, and shades when you're talking about color. And I'm just gonna take this, cut this into 2 insertions. I always cut out that piece that they pinch off so it doesn't look like it was broken off. So you're seeing here that I didn't do a ton of greening ahead of time, and that's to just make sure I'm being efficient with my labor. I'm going to be utilizing the variety of materials and some larger materials, so I don't need to over green and then come back in over the top. So I'm going to come back in and add some greens there. So there you can see the middle of the button is down here, then the bottom of the stem I brought up into this area. We have one little broken flower. I'm going to pay attention to that. Make sure you're cutting it out so that the customer doesn't feel like it got broken in delivery. Anything we can do for ultimate customer satisfaction. So I've just trimmed that button down. I'm going to utilize the other stems to be able to create some depth on this piece. So I brought them in there, and wow, look at the breaks on these babies. So I'm going to just tier those together, and so that I'm just doing one insertion, coming in with a grouping there, and another 3 of them together, tier them down, and then we're going to just sink that in a little bit lower with putting those 3 together. I have a lot easier time going into the foam there. Come in. So now you can see we're strong on the orange tones, tints, tones, and shades. So we're going to come in with a little bit more of the blue. There you can see adding that proportion coming across there. Got some great Eryngium. Another thing that you can do is actually, delphinium is more of a line flower here, but you can also come in and just take a look and cut that in half, and then bring those 2 together here, and then you can turn it more almost into, I'm gonna just take a look there, so I can lay those 2 together, and now it becomes a little bit more of a mass flower. So I'm going to be able to bring it down into that focal area, giving us a little bit more balance And so rather than add a line flower that's coming out here, I'm taking that delphinium and turning it into more of a mass flower, taking that one stem, cutting it into 3 pieces, and utilizing that way. And lastly, we're going to add in some eryngium, just adding that textural element. I grew up on a farm, and sometimes some of the weeds that my dad paid me to pull out of the cornfields, I see that we're selling now, so I know that he just laughs at it. Solidago would be one of those that I used to get a premium to pull it out of the cornfields, but everything's a weed somewhere, right? And so you can see I'm just taking a couple side shoots, and I'm going to bring those together, come down kind of, and add that depth there. And then this one here, rather than it being so strong, I have a little bit better. So you can really see that there's not that much of the foam that I can see. So why waste a lot of time pre-greening all of that? And we're going to just come in with some of our greens. I think the darker green foliages, we're all going to start seeing a little bit more action as we've got people trending. Eucalyptus has been on a run for a while, but I think darker green is going to be coming back in decor and trend, and I believe that it will follow in floral and decorative accessories, where we kind of fit into that market. And then lastly, I'm just going to add a little bit of the seasonal greens, and we're going to call these winter greens rather than Christmas greens, so that we can extend the season on using them. We normally carry cedar year-round. I think it's a beautiful textural element to add into design. Adds a great line and motion, and covers very fast. And so I'm just going to come here and make sure I cut that off as an angle, and then as I'm inserting it, I kind of pull these greens up, and then I'm able to hide that tip. There, and I don't think I really need any other greens. I'm not seeing, maybe one right here. So we don't need that much for greens. Now you might wonder why I kept this little guy, and mostly I used up all my little pieces, but I want to encourage you guys to make sure and have some of these little 3-inch pieces that are out on your design table, and how you pulled off some of these side shoots. So this maybe is going to go in a vase in a design. At the end of the day, you've got a broken Fuji mum, you might have a rose that busted off short, and this is really where you make your money, rather than throwing these on the floor, or also having this stash of little pieces that you don't use up, to just make sure at the end of every day. So you can see you can just use some of those little shoots, and it can be one piece of this, one piece of that. You have a rose that busted off, just make sure. And so I load up every designer station in the morning with a couple of the little pieces, so that they have it ready to go. And rather than put it into a bucket somewhere and have to deal with it later, you're just going to make that cooler piece at the end of the day that's a little cash and carry. Some people have come up with some cute names on them, but it doesn't have to be real big. But it's a great way to make some extra money and offer that price point. So then what you can do, you can see that this can be your showpiece in the cooler, and then maybe that is a little rich for their money, but you've got a couple of these little guys that are next to it. And so today they're going to take one of the little guys with, and next time maybe they'll come and get the big one. But so just make sure you're using your supplies and flowers efficiently. And this has been just taking a look at that complementary color harmony that we have with the oranges and blues, and thinking about scale and proportion in design. I'm Sandy Schreck for LBR Educates. Thanks a lot for watching, and make sure, give us a like and subscribe. I hope that I inspired you to use some of these techniques, look at the design elements and principles, and create some fabulous florals.